another kind of a star.
He was nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah. And he was in that Lincoln picture, playing one of those characters, one of those senators, and done a lot of good work since then. And he even played, I think, Freddie Fingers or something.
Freddy Krueger, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Freddie Fingers is a better
a whole
name.
different, that was like
1, 2, Freddy's thinking for you.
Anyway, he's doing really well.
What was
Very proud of him.
when you guys were shooting it? Like Bloomington, it was the summer, I'm assuming, but what was the reception like to the locals? Like, what would you do would you hang out like after you would be done with the shooting day? Because you were all young guys in basically a party town.
It wasn't a party town.
No, it
wasn't.
No, it was a very small college town. I mean, it didn't, well, maybe I was innocent. I didn't know where any, but there was no bar. I mean, it wasn't like a bar scene or a frat scene.
No, we hung out at the motel.
At the motel, yeah. We were diving for pennies in the swimming pool. Like, I'd throw them in and Hart would get them, and then he'd throw them in and I would get them. And
Yeah, that's what I meant by partying.
That was our per diem, actually.
I had never been so busy in my life because there were opera lessons, there was training lessons.
Yeah, I want to know about that. Like,
Bike-
were you a bike rider
No,
before
not
this?
at all.
We trained together.
I got to live my life in sports that I should have done in school in the movies. I was a surfer in one movie, I was an Olympian in another movie, and now this. But no, I was not athletic at all.
So on top of like having to
On
prepare.
location, the truth is that actors really don't mingle with townspeople all that much because you work hard all day. Sometimes it's 12-hour days, and by the time you had a meal, you kind of,
Then there's the
really don't want to
fraternity
go out and have a good time. That's not true. I worked with Robin Williams, and after he was finished shooting, he would go out on the town. This was during Popeye. He always wanted to mingle as much as he could with everybody.
But the college was very. I mean, I noticed at the end of the movie, like the college got a very good credit.
Yeah.
It was shot there, and and I think it meant a lot to the school. So they were very supportive.
It's
And then
transformed.
we came back. We did the movie, and it was a tiny. I mean, I think it was a tiny sort of movie that had, but it was the little engine that could. I mean, it caught fire. It had lines around the block, but no one expected that. So the premiere of the movie, they flew us back to Bloomington, and they put on again. This is my first movie, but they did a Hollywood premiere. So they had cars with a parade with us in the town, and they had the Little 500, and we were like guests at the Little 500. They actually have the Mini 500, which was one of the most insulting things I've ever seen. It was the women's race. They do it on tricycles in the gym. The women can't ride a real bike, they have to ride a tricycle. I don't know if they still do that, but we went back, but we had like like a Hollywood premiere with the Klieg lights, and I mean, it was. So I think it meant a lot to the college, more than the town.
But the reviews, I don't know if you remember the local reviews, especially the college, it was a student union paper. And they said, outside of Bloomington, no one's going to see this movie. Remember that?
I do not, but we got it.
You didn't check the university paper for the reviews of the movie? When you were shooting it, like it does have it's very tight. Like Paul said, it's a very good script, and but it does feel loose and fun. And you mentioned 2 scenes that were improvised that seemed like they were completely they were emotionally perfect for the movie. Did it feel loose while you were shooting the movie? Was there room to play? Was it kind of?
What impressed me is there was never really any blocking. You were allowed to go in and just sort of mount the scene and whatever. You go, oh, we're doing it here today. And there was never no one ever told you to go over there or hit this mark or do this, so that it was always very fluid. Somehow we always made it so that we were all in the shot properly. But I remember feeling very physically free and not having to be restricted, from the way we walked across the street to everything that we did.
Well, I didn't improvise anything. I mean, in terms of improv, that is true. He was very natural. He was very naturalistic.
The song. That was you joining in.
Oh, I joined it,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It was, looked like so much fun.
Yeah, well, that whole scene was an improv. Come on, nobody.
Didn't we practice the song?
Well, do you remember the first night we tried to do it, and Peter got me so drunk that I couldn't do it. And we sat in my trailer drinking and drinking and drinking.
I blacked out on that.
Peter kept bringing us alcohol to loosen us up.
I don't think us.
No. But we had to shoot it the second night.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Don't you kind of?
I do, now that you're saying it, but, and I was also remembering that first night of shooting, after that first day, your emotional, that transformation that you had to make from that first day of shooting and your uncomfortableness and that sort of tragedy in the hotel room, you know, of like, I can't do this.
Can't do it.
Yeah, I remember, I've forgotten about that too. So much I forgot.
We used to talk a lot.
We
about
did, yeah.
Everything, because I knew about the eviction.
Yeah, well, and Laura had come to visit and everybody.
here tonight?
Yes.
Hi.
I'll tell you all a piece of trivia. The quarry itself was called the Empire Quarry, and the stone from that built the Empire State Building, which is limestone. Yeah,
And
that's
you know,
why they called it the Empire Quarry.
and you know, when we got there, the whole quarry was covered with graffiti and fetid with
Yes.
trash and everything else. There's a scene where I'm riding the bike and I'm singing on the bike, and the townspeople are there, and a lady comes out and shakes her rug. That was our production designer, Patricia Von Brandis, who's gone on to win many, many Oscars for Amadeus and, you know, pictures that aren't in a little town.
Yeah.
So,
Really
an
takes
interesting sidelight is one of the jobs of an art director, they're varied, but she went out there, I didn't see it, but I was told, she went out there with other people in a boat and erased all the graffiti, which was the first state feast. She wanted it to look pristine, as if the college guys had never come there or anybody.
They had
And
sand.
ruined it, so it should look like it's very virginal. But that was one of the jobs.
She had sandblasted the whole thing. Actually, she didn't go out on a boat and do it.
That's right.
They had big machinery coming in there, sandblasting all of the quarry, and they made it look pristine
Yeah.
and brought the quality of that water back to what Peter wanted for the cinematography, for the way that it looks. Because even though this looks like a little movie in a little town with normal people in it, every shot, if you look at it, I noticed it tonight because this is such a fine presentation here, are really exquisite. The scene with Jack and I just talking about he's going to try to tell me that he's getting married, and then we go around the corner and we're in the church window. There's a big cathedral there. The acres of cornfield as the bike goes by. There's so much visual, real beauty. And every time
Also, Peter, you know,
every
it's
time they
very
take a picture of Barbara Barry, she's just luminous.
It's a very lyrical film that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really, and I thought that at the end, when I watched the end, that last 2 laps, there's no cuts.
No.
That last 2 laps of that race, they say it's 2 laps left, and there's no cutting. I mean, where you would be cutting devices and close-ups and looking back, and you two, you know, fighting and all that. Just one thing, and even now, I'm like, I'm starting to lift myself out of the seat going, is he gonna do it? And the tension is beautiful, and he made everything kind of...
Cynthia Scheider was the editor on this, and she should have gotten more credit for it, I think, because she did. She was once married to Roy Scheider, and she did a great job with this, just absolutely amazing, because she built the tension. She knows when to keep it a long shot. I mean, she knows when to get the reactions of us looking back and forth to get the joke that's not even written.
Great, there's great comedy and editing in this too. Yeah.
She had some laughs just with her editing in there.
Exactly.
And that, to me, is fantastic.
And in terms of cinematography, there's one shot in the big end of the race where it looks like it's a 360 shot with the camera. And they're coming up a big hill, which is circular finally. It's one of the most beautiful shots in the whole movie. And you see every bike coming up that hill in a big circle.
It's Matt Leonetti.
Yes.
It's just really, an Italian, really, really beautiful. If you really look at it, each frame it either gets to a beautiful image, or it starts out with it, or it moves through a beautiful image. It's all Really, really lovely. He took real good care with Barbara, and he took real good care with Robin Douglas too, because every time you see them, they're just idealistic. They're
Yeah.
icons. There was an actress that I was seeing named Laurie Bird, and she was in Two-Lane Blacktop, and I introduced her to Peter because they were in Los Angeles preparing this stuff, and it was the most I saw of them was before the movie, before we got to the set. And I introduced him to Laurie, and she went in to read for Robin, and I said, because I felt we had good chemistry, I thought it was a good thing. And he said, no, you look like a perfect couple. You look like a couple that would get married or would be together. He said, I wanted the girl on Bob Barker's show that when they open the curtain, she's at the refrigerator going like that. He wants a grass-fed, all-American beauty, a Kathy Ireland, younger kind of thing. He wanted the ideal. He said, I want you to fall in love with a woman that you would never be with. That you're just longing for. And that would, so when he said that, I went, oh, yes.
Yeah.
I get it.
And she was a Chicago actress, and I think she remained in Chicago. She made a few other movies. Once Dressed as a Man, for some reason.
Oh, speaking of that, my double, which should be, not dressed as a man, but
He does dress as a man.
no, the guy that's, the person that was my double, and I think you can maybe tell from some of the long shots when you compare our legs. Now, I did a lot of stuff. I picked up that goddamn book right off the street in one take.
That was impressive. That's a good reach there.
That's a long take, and there's no cuts on that. And they had like wires to pull it up and all this shit, and I said, and it failed like 400 times. I said, let me just try it. Kind of worked.
I did all my own bike riding in that last thing too.
No, we can tell. That was an ad.
I wanted to ask you, was it scary? Because when we first started those laps at the end, when they first brought us, they had the most crowds and the most everything that dwindled during the day. And they just threw us in with everybody to start riding as fast as we could, without anybody going anywhere, just so they could get footage of us going.
With a motorcycle in front of us riding back, and with the cameraman riding backwards. So yeah.
But it was really scary and really dangerous. It was like the second or third day when we realized we have to match shots. We have to. There are people in first place, you know, because they were like extras that were trained in bike racing, so they all wanted to win. Nobody was directing other people.
Yeah, remember Peter didn't really talk terribly much about what we were going to be doing during the race. It was all about the cameras, and I thought, well, aren't we going to talk about what we're supposed to do? Get on the bike and ride. And I didn't know how many laps I was supposed to do.
3 months later, they sent me back to Bloomington with the cameraman that was on the back of the motorcycle to pick up super close-ups. Because when we were shooting it, I said, you don't have anything where he makes a decision. You just have, you know, me going around and stuff. I mean, you have to tell me when the things are so I can make decisions and switch the gears, so to speak, on the scene. And we never had any of those really tight things. And we went back 3 months later after Cynthia, and I mentioned it while we were there, and I felt embarrassed because it was like, I'm asking for more close-ups. You know, I'm goddamn seeing the movie, and I'm asking for more close-ups. But we went back, and sometimes there's like 4 bike wheels in back of us, but they're really close, so you never see any of the crowd or any of the people.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but I was watching myself riding that bike, and I saw you had to start there, but like, I'm way on the outside. When I'm going around, it's like I'm slowing down and just because in that crowd, it was like loose gravel too. It was like some sort of loose track thing. I mean, you did serious riding in that. You had a lot to do. And you had to look
Dennis
like
and I, we trained. We had a trainer here in LA before we got on the plane.
Oh,
a train?
no, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. We did. We used to ride to Lake Hollywood. You don't remember?
Oh, yeah.
I think we're gonna
Remember
open up the
I
questions for
remember we
questions.
did one of those things because I was on that other movie and they kept bringing things
Let
like
other
that.
people ask
The
their questions.
roller?
Yeah. Let us.
So, does anyone have any questions? Yeah, we got one right up here.
I just want a quick one, Mr. Dooley, if I could just have you say refund.
He's
I
asking
only
Paul.
do that for a fee. I tried to do it different every time, so they went like refund, 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 refund. Now I'm in the bed and I'm blaming the doctor. Refund. That was his fault. One to myself, one to him, one to heaven. But that's what I get called from trucks and cab drivers, Uber drivers, people passing by. That's my, here's looking at you, kid.
I see one back there, red shirt. Yes.
Yes, this is one of the most brilliant American films I think that's ever been made, and I think.
Thank you so much.
Casting has a lot to do with it. The one person that didn't get mentioned was Dennis Quaid, who obviously became a breakout sex symbol after this film.
So that's enough. God damn it.
Everyone did, of course, but he was very visible. I like the way he's undercut very subtly throughout this film, though, as being the Marlboro man, but he hits his head in the quarry, and at the end, he's obviously having a lot of problems with the bike ride, more so than the other guys, in fact, it seems. Are those deliberate choices you think the director made about this kind of character? Sort of the macho American?
I do. I mean,
cowboy type?
some of Steve's best writing, I think, is in Dennis's character and in your character. I think there's Steve Tessich gems that just come out of people's mouths. Because him expressing that disappointment, that lack of belief in himself, everything about that character and the way Dennis played it was absolutely perfect. And
I also think
that's
that-
how this movie works, so magically.
And also Dennis even though Jackie in some ways was the most noticeable or recognizable, Dennis was a movie star already. I mean, he carried himself in a way. He has, but at the time, had so much charisma. And just, I mean, he's the leader of the group, actually. When you watch the dynamic, we keep following him. He tells us where to go. Dave's the star of the story, but he's the second banana in our group to Mike. And Dennis, Dennis was living large. I mean, he knew how to be in the movies. I think he went down and bought a car. He bought a
54 Chevy.
and bought
PJ bought a
a
car.
fancy car.
Yeah.
But I mean, he knew and we were all like, what the heck? Like I'm saving every penny, and he was.
We went
he
to
was all in-
Martinsville, Indiana one Sunday. Always.
Yes.
I bought a 54 Chevy.
Yeah.
You bought-
And
PJ
I bought one,
Oh,
and
you
he bought one, and
knew
I
Hollywood
drove
too.
it back to LA, yeah.
Right. Everybody was, and so Dennis really, I mean, again, he was the center of it, of the story, and a lot of the inner story, and he's gone on. I mean, he should
And
have
at the
been.
time, he was married to a famous actress. I mean, he arrived on the set. Dennis and I had done a movie before together called September 30th, 1955. So we knew each other kind of well. But Dennis arrived with his wife, P.J. Souls, that for at least actors, she was a movie star. She was the girl in Carrie. She was in so many movies, and it was like Dennis Quaid was married to her, of
Right.
course. So, yeah. So they arrived there, and they were pretty dazzling and looking the way they look. PJ does a little cameo in the movie. She's Susie. We had a proper scene in the flower store when I buy flowers for Catherine.
You know, I see these guys off and on, some of them infrequently, but I almost never have seen Dennis Quaid since the movie, except when we all had a magazine shoot at Entertainment Tonight. But about 3 weeks ago, I got a job on a sitcom, and Dennis Quaid now has a sitcom. It's called Merry Happy Whatever. And the whole first season is supposed to be between Christmas and New Year. And boy, was he glad to see me. I mean, we had more fun together just on the 4 days of the shoot than we ever did making the movie. He's busy being the other character. But I loved seeing him, and he was just great to me. And he was at the In fact, he embarrassed me with how terrific he was. It's usually it's true at the end of an actor's job in a movie, whether it's halfway through the movie or at the end. When you have no more scenes to do and you're released, the director will say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Dooley," and then the crew, this is obligatory, they all applaud. But Dennis did this 4 times a day when I was working with him. I was so glad to see him. And
He was trying to get you off the show.
it really filled my heart with joy. About 4 days we worked with him.
Any other, we have one over here?
Oh.
I'm from Bloomington and went to IU, so this film is really meaningful to me. I just wanted to say that at first. Also say that the car y'all are driving around in was a friend of the family's car that she sold to the production crew. So it's funny seeing that. And then so my question is, now I'm a film student and I want to know, as actors, what you would suggest to budding directors of how to direct effectively.
I mean, a bunch of you have directed your own movies.
Well, the good thing at this point in time is, you can make your own movie. That's what's good in the technology now, is people can make their own movies at home. Digital, you can shoot it on your phone. So I would say, keep shooting and keep doing things and find your own voice, because that's how you end up. I mean, that's what everybody's looking for in a director, is somebody who's clear of what they want and can guide the ship of all these disparate parts of the movie and form it into one thing. That's what was so brilliant about Peter. He really was the conductor of everything, of the actors and the script and the art direction and everything. So I would just keep shooting. That's the beauty. I was realizing, like, when we did this, it was one camera all the time. Like now it's 3 cameras and you're getting a lot of footage. That was one camera each time. Each shot was precious and you had to reload the cameras and stuff. So, but the freedom to keep shooting, I think, gives young budding directors a lot of opportunity.
Bob Altman famously said that direction is 80% casting, and then he just lets people go. He believes in his choices when he makes them. When he feels them and he connects with a human being in the room, he never doubts. He never goes back from that.
He hates to audition people.
Yeah. It mostly comes from life, at least my experiences with him being in his film.
When I got my first job with him, I came to his apartment in New York, and it was called A Wedding, and he spent 2 hours with me explaining what the movie was, but he never asked me to audition. So I come back tomorrow for lunch. I come back, there's a lot of people there, and tells me more about the movie. And after 3 days, I go in and he says, "Oh, we found your daughter." And I said, "What daughter?" "Well, you're playing the father." But I didn't know. He's like that. He doesn't like to audition people.
We got time for one more question from the audience. Right here. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so this line that gets me every time is when you say, "You're not a cutter, I'm a cutter." It just seems like, to sum up the whole movie, or it's really important.
Absolutely.
But it just kind of goes by. What was the direction?
There was no direction. That's one of the best lines in the movie, because to him, a cutter is an insult when they call it that. But to me, I think of myself in the mill, making stones into something. What they were really doing in that mill was making columns to be used in courthouses all over the country. But the guy who was the most experienced and the oldest guy making these things is called the master sculptor. So they think of themselves as sculptors. Years ago, they started with a hammer and a chisel. Now they have electric chisels. But he was called the master sculptor. So when he says he doesn't mind being a cutter, it's a negative word. It's an insult word. And I say, "You're not a cutter. I'm a cutter," meaning it's a great profession. So that's why that's such a great line.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Please give it up for Hart Bochner, Paul Dooley, Dennis Christopher.